Hi, everybody. You're listening to podcast episode number 5. I'm Megan, and alongside Jen O'Hara, we are your hosts for the Small Business Bootcamp podcast. Today's episode is a conversation with our newest department leader at Kids First Sports Center. We talk with Reece O'Hara, our Fly Kids Ninja and Parkour leader, about our Kids First culture and how its principles have shaped his program's fast start. Let's jump right in. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Small Business Bootcamp podcast. Today, we are joined in the office with our newest department leader. This is Reece O'Hara, our Fly Kids Ninja and Parkour department leader. So welcome, Reece.
Thanks for inviting me here.
So Jen and I are going to just be talking with Reece about just different things about the Ninja program, some of his history with Kids First. For those of you that might be new to the podcast, we run a small business boot camp here at Kids First Sports Center, which is a multi-venue sports facility. And so we talk about a lot of our principles that are driving our business, and we're going to talk with Reece about some of those as well. So Reece, do you want to walk us through a little bit of your history with Kids First?
Sure. So I've grown up at Kids First. Both my parents were gymnastics coaches. Jen, my mom.
If we didn't say,
right.
Jen is Reece's mom.
Eventually, she moved over to the Tumblebees as a department leader, and I've just grown up there since. I started working in Tumblebees when I was 14. I started by volunteering, helping with classes, helping with cleaning and setup, and then moving on. Eventually, you stepped into more of a administrative and executive role, and I kind of stepped in with Casey and helped her kind of as almost an assistant DL. I don't think I was ever officially an assistant DL, but I helped with training and curriculum building for certain classes. And then in 2020, when everything kind of shut down, we decided to put in a Fly Kids department, and I just started helping out with that and helping it grow, and eventually I stepped into the department leader role, which felt really natural because I was kind of already doing a lot of the stuff that I do now anyway. So,
walk us through when that Ninja department actually started. We, like most people in across the United States, our doors closed in March. And I believe the Kids First closed March 16th, and the install for Ninja was March 17th.
Yeah. And it was like right after we closed.
Right. And then we were on hold for a period of time. Do you recall what month we started programming again?
I know we started having camp groups in June when summer camp started.
Yep.
And that kind of helped us introduce what Ninja was and get our heads wrapped around how a class would run. We started Ninja classes the first week of July.
That's right.
And we had, I think, 80 kids was our first enrollment.
Right. And so fast forward to February, what is our current enrollment?
February, our current enrollment, looking a little bit ahead, is about 320.
Great.
Yeah.
So during a pandemic. So I think what I want to talk with you about a little bit is how was that transition for you from Tumblebees being a part-time Tumblebee teacher? You were also in school. You were in you were taking college courses. How was that transition into a leadership role? And what did you struggle with, and what felt a little bit seamless and easy?
Yeah, well, I was about to say the word seamless. It felt really natural in a lot of ways. Like I mentioned, when I was in Tumblebees, I helped with the staff training. I helped write curriculum, so all of that came pretty natural to me. Some of the harder things I had some help on, like creating a schedule. That was something that was kind of new to me, but I think you walked me. We kind of tag teamed that, yep. And other things just such as like the admin stuff, all of the behind the scenes that I didn't really know I had to do until I was doing them. But for the most part, I think working in Tumblebees and growing up at Kids First and just seeing how we do things and having that kind of general layout helped me transition into doing that in Ninja instead of just transferring from preschool gymnastics over to Ninja.
For people that, can you maybe give us a little bit of background on what is Ninja and Parkour? What is your programming? What does that include? We know you have classes. You said you had roughly 320 students. What all does that encompass, and what kind of other things do you do in your department? And kind of just walk us through what your program is about.
Yeah. So overall, our program follows the kids' first mission statement, and that's really what we built on top of, was building kids into happy, healthy, and successful adults. We want to help kids become confident and strong and brave. I think we use the word courageous a lot. And we want them to try new things. So ninja is a sport that was started in Japan. It was a show called Suzuki, I believe, and it moved to America. Essentially, it's obstacle course racing, but on a lot of kind of insane hanging obstacles that people really haven't done before. And it uses all kinds of different muscles that people haven't really used before. So we want to take what you see on the show, American Ninja Warrior, and in other competitions that right now aren't on TV, but bring them out and allow kids from 6 years old all the way up to 17 to at least learn something new, or at least learn something new about themselves and try new things and fall down and realize, oh, I'm okay. I can get back up and try again. And then along with parkour, there's a lot of different types of parkour. We stick with mainly the standard version of parkour, which is moving your body in the most efficient way to get from one point to the next point. You can get into things where you do flips and back handsprings and more gymnastics. Right now, we've kind of not gone into that too much. We just want to teach kids how to move quickly and move efficiently. I think that's...
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the specifics of what the department offers.
Yeah. So our classes are structured. We have different age groups, 6 to 8, 9 to 11, and then 11 or 12, 11 to 14, and then 14 to 17. We run an hour-long class, and we try to do warm-up, teach kids how to stretch out, do a dynamic warm-up, and then we break up into 4 courses. And 2 of the courses are very ninja-focused, where it's hanging obstacles, lots of upper body strength, and then 2 of the courses are floor courses, where it's more focused on parkour. We teach vaulting, we teach some tricks a little bit, and just moving around the course as quickly as possible. There's variations with that. Some classes do 3 ninja courses. Some classes do 3 floor courses. It really just depends on the class. But it's an hour long. It's just a way for kids to kind of build up their strength. We also offer, we have special events where we have in-house competitions every 2 months. We try to form that around what's called the National Ninja League, which is the NNL. And they run competitions across the entire country and the world. So we try to take that and bring it here. And then we also offer birthday parties and special events as well.
And do you have a competitive team?
Yeah, we actually just started a competitive team. And we actually just got you and I went to our first competition on Sunday. And out of the 7 kids that went, I would say, I think 5 of them, half of them, roughly 3 to 4. It was their first time ever competing. And we had 2 of them qualify for the Midwest Regionals, which was a really big accomplishment, especially for it being one of theirs. It was their first time competing.
Right.
So
didn't we just started that in January?
Yeah,
right.
We started that in January and it kind of took off. We have 22 athletes on our team right now, and we're kind of short on space for some of the practice times.
Yeah. Short on space. How big is our facility? 108,000 square feet.
108,000 square feet.
I don't get access to all 108,000 though.
No, as much space as each department has, every department feels like they're a little bit squeezed, no matter how much or how little space you have.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to talk a little bit, we talk about boot camp and what we like to present at boot camp and a lot of different facets to gym clubs across the country. And I'm interested to know, so you've been in this role now since, actually you've been the department leader officially since mid to end of December, but you have been heavily involved in the ninja department since the onset. I'm really interested to hear from your perspective why you have had, you touched on it a little bit, but why you've had the success that you've had. What prepared you to be a department leader in that role? You're 21 years old. You didn't come in here thinking this would be where you would land for a period of time. It was very much a temporary stepping stone while you went on to a 4-year school to get a degree in engineering and move that direction. Things shifted a little bit. And so I want to know many department leaders come in and really struggle to find their way. What prepared you to be as successful as you've been up to this point?
I think a big part of that was growing up at Kids First and really being able to embody the teaching principles that we have and the unifying principles that we have. Remembering that we have a mission statement and trying to stick close to that mission statement and sticking close to our teaching principles, because I figured out pretty quickly, once you have that foundation built of the 11 teaching principles and the 7 unifying principles and all of that, you can build a curriculum on top of that pretty easily. It's just a matter of learning the skills and the progressions, which I was trained in. So I kind of picked that up quickly. And then also coming from Tumblebees, there was a structure to their classes that I wanted to somewhat bring over to Ninja. So I talked with the department leader, Casey, for a while. And I talked with Corey, who does Gym Jam and Excel. She was a big help with our team program. And I just tried to get as many opinions as I could on what's the best way to structure a class, because I didn't want to just copy someone else's department. I wanted my own spin on it, but at the same time, I wanted to take what worked from each department and kind of blend it together.
And I'm interested in how, you've known and grown up with our culture and with the mission statement. And as you became an employee, you learned more about our unifying principles and our teaching principles. And so moving from a, say, Tumblebee part-time employee and having those as a basis as an employee, and then stepping into a leadership role, how did you see that transition? What of those principles, helped you most as a leader, or what do you keep coming back to as a leader? I'm just interested in.
A lot of the communication, the clearly communicate expectations, being forthright. Those helped me a lot because
helped you a lot in your leadership.
Yes, I kind of stepped into it, and I've had this problem for a while where I'm going through something and I kind of get that imposter syndrome where it's like, okay, I'm not really qualified to do this, or I don't know what I'm doing. But being able to clearly express my thoughts to either the staff or to coworkers or to you guys has been extremely helpful in giving me a direction. Because at least if I'm wrong and I say it out loud, I can be corrected and put on the right path. And then if I have an issue or a concern that I want to bring up with someone else, instead of going the roundabout way, which I've started to not enjoy doing anymore. I was very passive for a while where I did not like confrontation and I didn't like bringing issues up. But now I've started to see that in order for programs to be successful, if you have an issue, you should just be direct about it, because at the end of the day, everyone that you work with is an adult. And as long as you follow the unconditional respect and really just the love, empathy, compassion as well, and understanding that we're all a team, then I don't care if you have a problem with me as long as you tell me. If you go behind my back, that's different. But it won't hurt my feelings if you say, "Hey, you're teaching this class wrong." 'Cause I'd be interested to see how you'd want to teach.
Yeah, in fact, welcome you to
exactly.
have that open communication.
Yeah, I'd want to see your side of it.
Grow and sharing perspectives.
Yeah, because I might not know something that you know, or vice versa, and from there we learn. So that helped a lot in terms of just figuring out the goals of the program. I would say love, empathy, compassion helped a lot. But in terms of stepping into a leadership position, communication was a big thing.
Sure. I'm interested to hear from, again, this is our newest department leader. I don't even want to bring age into it. It's just you're our newest department leader, and not having had necessarily hiring experience before this. How has maybe what you've gotten from the leadership, Jen and I, or from the principles that we have, our hiring mantras, how has that helped you in your hiring? How do you go about that? What's been difficult for you in this new role, in staffing and cycles and scheduling and hiring? What I just want to talk a little bit about that, because it seems to be, from a lot of gym owners when we talk to them, staffing and hiring is one of their number one issues that continue to come up. So I just want to hear from our newest DL how that has been for you, and what you have found to work for you, and what maybe you still struggle with.
Yeah. Well, in Tumblebees, when you were the department leader and Casey's department leader now, both of their philosophies on hiring was just to be constantly looking for new staff, because you're going to have some sort of issue, or in the future, there's going to be staff members. Maybe you have 5 extra staff members, but none of them can work, say, a Monday.
Right.
Right. Which is actually the problem I'm having now, where I have all of these staff members, but we're still somewhat short-staffed on certain days. So being able to get into the mindset of just constantly looking for new talent and constantly looking to hire, and then also being able to read certain indicators about prospective employees, being able to, I used to always kind of, it's going to sound, I used to always be on their side when they came in to hire, and I would always try to vouch for them instead of seeing it more as like they're applying for a job.
They have to wow you.
Right. Yeah. There has to be that aspect of, okay, they can be, maybe they're not great yet, but we can make them great. They have to have that kind of good characteristics to them.
And with opportunity.
Opportunity to grow.
Right.
And then it's my responsibility to then grow them into great employees.
Right.
And it's really looking at the character before you look at the skills, because we can train the skills. It's the person that we're hiring that we can't change their personalities.
Or character.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It's funny, he just hit on a couple different hiring mantras that we have. One is hire the character, train the skill, and trying to become very skillful at recognizing a bubbly personality versus somebody with character that is naturally aligned with our principles.
And at first I was kind of thinking I was doing a good thing by kind of being on their side and vouching for them and saying, oh, well, they have potential. Mm-hmm. But then you start to realize that if you get someone in there teaching classes that just really doesn't want to be there or doesn't fit with the principles, it can hurt the class structure itself, and it can not be a great experience for the kids that we are offering these classes to. So
of those people that you hired, how many of them still work here? Of the people that you vouched for, that you felt like you could help change?
Oh, actually, yeah, we were just talking about this. There was one specific employee that he just was having a little bit of trouble just being extroverted, and I have that trouble too. I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to people.
You're doing great.
But he was just very quiet, wasn't really making that connection with the kids. And then something came up with his schedule where he wasn't on the schedule for a while. And he came back, and I said, okay, I'll take a day and kind of think about it. But he texted me the next day and said, I really want to be on the schedule. If you have any hours, I'll take what you can give me. And that kind of, it showed me that he had the initiative and the drive and that he wanted to be there. Mm-hmm. So I kind of set a goal where I'm going to put that specific coach with me and another coach who I really trust. And by the end of the month, we're going to evaluate and see his progress. And he's become I would say he is one of the best coaches that we have on staff right now. And that's after 2 months of kind of getting reacquainted with how to coach and how to teach ninja. And he's just blown me away.
So giving him the opportunity and the tools to be successful versus cutting him loose prematurely. And
looking back, he was in a tough position. He was hired for a different department right before we closed in March.
For COVID.
So then he went 3 months of not teaching kids, not going through training, all of that. And then he was kind of just thrown into Ninja where there wasn't a DL because we were trying to figure out, we were trying to figure out how this program was going to run. And he was just expected, okay, you're going to be on a group and you're going to take kids, and that's your responsibility. So looking back, he didn't get all of the necessary tools to succeed. So that was one thing I hit on when he came back in, I think it was late November and early December.
That's so interesting when, Jen and I have those conversations even with department leaders, and how much of it, what have we given them all the tools and resources that they need to be successful, or is it them? And I think for us, we have to consciously always take a step back and think, what can we do to give them more? And then what they do with that is up to them. And, we talk about that with responsibility and some of our staff development tools. A lot of them come through the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, which we talk a lot about. And it sounds like with this employee, it was somebody that you had sort of just pegged as maybe was just going to be a good employee, and you had considered even maybe pulling them back. Didn't feel like they were giving you what you wanted to put out on the floor. And then with a little more time and effort and giving them more tools to succeed, they ended up moving up to this great employee status. Yeah. And that doesn't always happen. And we talk, we could do a whole episode about that.
Right.
But that's, if they hadn't gone in that direction, you'd have been moving them more towards moving them off the schedule and looking out.
Yep.
Continually hiring and looking for that next great employee.
Yep.
But that's a great success story for you. And for us is where we're sitting. That's always exciting to hear you going through that learning process. And, there's nothing that we can teach you that didn't, that teaches you far more to have to feel that process and work through that with that employee, for when the next one comes along. So
I've learned quite a bit about just leadership and running a business, really, and just how to motivate people.
Inspire.
Inspire, yeah. I knew motivate wasn't inspire. Yeah.
That's right. That's all right.
How to inspire people and really just lead them and get them to want to be great employees. I've learned a lot about that, stepping into DL position.
Just sitting here talking with you, we lived it, the process of you being a Tumblebee teacher, the building closing, starting up a new program, knowing that we needed staff members and knowing that we needed curriculum and a department leader and knowing that you might play a small role in that, and really not knowing what we didn't realize is that this would be such a great fit for you. But I think for both of us, we can sit here and listen to how you really embody the principled thinking and the foundational philosophy of Kids First. And I think it's not really pride that I'm feeling. It's just joy, because not only is it us sitting here from the executive office, but as a mom listening to you talk about these concepts that are years in the making for many, many people. Many leaders go through their professional life struggling with some of those same components. And not that you won't have struggle. You will have struggle and challenge, but you seem very well equipped to handle it and to manage it. I would ask you, if you were talking to a group of business leaders, what kind of advice would you give them to help their employees who might be in a new leadership role?
I think the biggest thing for me, I've mentioned this a couple of times, but the biggest thing for me is putting into perspective that your business and kind of the working hours and the career itself, it might be your top priority, but for some employees, it might not be their top priority. So when they're here, when they're at work, your job is to, again, inspire them. And at least while they're here, to make it their top priority. Don't be thinking about what's going on at home, and really just embody the teaching principles, and always be looking for like those employees that have either moments of greatness or are already great or have the potential to be great, because those are the ones that then kind of feed off your enthusiasm. So as long as you stay enthusiastic, they're going to show up. I have a couple of employees in mind when I'm talking about this, where they'll commit 100%, and you just have to inspire them and continue that enthusiasm, and they'll kind of jump on board. And then that'll kind of show you the ones that don't get enthusiastic or just are looking at the job as more of a stepping stone. And there are even the ones that might not have it as their top priority. There are still ways to inspire them and talk to them and just essentially say, okay, well, I understand that this isn't going to be your career, but while you're here, let's make this as fun for the kids, as fun for you, and as fun for me as possible. And let's make something great while we're here. So just being able to put it back into perspective, which is something I had a problem with, especially when we started. I was probably working 55 hours a week. Still about there. But I had to remember that some of the younger teenagers or just other staff members, they don't see me working 50 hours a week. They see me just when they see me. And to them, they don't want to commit 50 hours a week because they have school, they have families, they have friends, they have all of these other things. And it would be impossible for me to ask them to commit to 50 hours a week. So I have to take what they can give me and then inspire them to be great from what we have to work with.
Great words of wisdom.
What do you love about your job?
I like all of it.
All of it.
So, I mean, most of it.
Okay.
98% of it.
Okay.
I went to school in college. Was studying to do engineering and computer science. And when I kind of started jumping into Ninja a little bit more, I started to realize that it took an engineering mind, and really being a department leader, you have to be really good at analyzing systems and finding the most efficient way to do things, especially with a new program where I'm the one that's kind of wearing all of these different hats. So I have to be very efficient in what I do and just finding the best ways to go about that. And I really enjoy doing that. I enjoy finding just the most efficient way to get a party structure or lesson plan. Yeah, creating systems, and then also just inspire
engineering mind.
Right. Yeah, it keeps me. Yeah, I have a day off actually, which is surprising, and I get so bored on those days off. I need things to do, so I start just doing random things, and so being able to just continue growing and thinking about the program, and then also inspiring others to want to bring new things to the table. And again, because I'm one person, I might be missing something completely different that someone else has brought up. So I like inspiring other people to also then be thinking, not necessarily in their off time, but whenever they get a chance, to just how can I help grow the program.
An interesting fact about Reece is that he's always been, he was homeschooled from 4th grade through his senior year of high school. And he's been a 4.0 student in high school. Of course, his parents were his teachers giving him grades.
4.13 actually.
4.13 in high school, but he was also a 4.0 college student, and he is an intellect, and he is one of those individuals that soaks up knowledge. And what I have been really interested in watching is how you've shifted gears from that engineering track of your life to this big project that you didn't know anything about, but you've created your own path, and you've used your strengths. You've recognized where you might need to adjust, meaning primarily communication. You've always been an introvert, but really utilizing the resources around you. I took a mental note when you said you talked with as many people as you could. You talked with Corey Danner, you talked with Casey Campbell, you talked with many of the team coaches with this office, and that really blends with what our leadership style here is, sharing perspective rather than just dictating or managing or telling people what to do. I think that one of the strengths of our leadership team is that interest in other departments and that ability to communicate openly and sharing perspective. Do you feel like that's a strength that you will perpetuate from your point of view because it's hard for you to communicate, or has been in the past? Is that your leadership style, or what do you think your leadership style currently is in the Ninja program?
I think it'll continue to be like that, where the way I bring up either concerns or just topics I want to talk about is very conversational. So I don't go to someone and schedule a meeting and kind of pull them into the office and say, hey, you're in trouble. This is this, this, and this. I say, hey, I had a parent say this. What can you tell me about it? Like, let's talk and find, because I know that I have a parent's perspective on a thing. I have my perspective on the thing, and then they have their own perspective. So trying to figure out where that miscommunication is, because I actually wrote conflict management back in Tumblebees. I wrote a whole couple pages on how to deal with angry parents and how to deal with conflict between coworkers. And one thing that became clear to me was most conflicts are caused by miscommunication. So it's not because someone has bad intentions. It's just because they didn't understand you or you misunderstood them. And that's one thing I've really kept in mind in terms of my leadership style, is I want to get as many voices in the conversation as possible so that we can come to a common understanding. And maybe it presents a solution, or maybe I already had a solution in mind and I suggest it and everyone jumps on it, or they all throw it away and come up with their own thing. But again, back to inspiration. I'm not trying to dictate to people how to teach a ninja class. I just want to open up that dialogue on, hey, what else can we do with this ninja class? What else do you have any extra thoughts? Here's some things I saw. Let's try this thing out. If it doesn't work, we'll go back to the other way. And then with other department leaders, I think, especially in a decentralized company. I know, using big words.
That's very much a kid's first word.
I think sometimes it could be easy, especially for an introverted person like me, to just put your blinders on and just stick with your own program and not talk to any of the DLs. So that was one thing coming in that I made a point of, is I wanted to go get other opinions because they've been growing their programs very successfully. So it really only makes sense to see how they're doing it. I think it would have been easy for me to come in and say, okay, I have a plan. I know what I'm doing. I have my own way of doing things. I'm going to stick to Ninja and just talk about Ninja and stay in my own little bubble. Mm-hmm. But again, I didn't want to get into that habit. So again, that's where I got as many opinions on the matter as I could and took that with my own plan and tried to blend all of Kids First into Ninja, because I was supposed to start this program in a facility that already has programs that have been around forever. And it had to be as seamless as possible because the clients we have are expecting Kids First quality on a program that's brand new.
Right. That's a tall order. No pressure.
Right. What I want to talk a little bit about what the future of Ninja is at Kids First. What do you see from the future of Fly Kids? Kind of what's on your docket for what you'd like to see accomplished, or maybe where do you see the sport growing? We know that parkour is an Olympic sport now, which is awesome and exciting, and I think that will continue to catapult kids towards our sport. But what do you see as the future of Fly Kids and Ninja and parkour?
So the future of Fly Kids, I think we've hit 300, which was a big milestone, and we've had that goal set since we've opened, was 300. Well, I mean, different stages of the same goal, but overall we wanted to be about where we are at 300. And I think even now we can then set the goal a little bit higher and continue. We have the space available to continue growing our program without needing to expand. And I think that's overall the main goal, because we haven't been open for a year yet. Mm-hmm. But I also want to continue working with the competitive team. I want to get some traction with the NNL, the National Ninja League, and I want to be able to take kids to competitions and people to say, oh, they're from Fly Kids. That's a pretty big name over in Ohio. And just to recognize the name recognition. Mm-hmm. I've put some thoughts into summer events and summer activities and hosting our own competitions. That would be super fun. And then to talk more about Ninja as a sport. The NNL is pushing very hard to get Ninja into the Olympics. And then also what they're starting to look at, this was on their season 6 survey, which season 6 is about to end. And they sent a survey to all the coaches and athletes. They asked a question on what could grow Ninja the most. And one of the options was scholastic Ninja options, meaning like college or school Ninja.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And I think if they can break into that area, we'll start to see a big influx in students and clients that want to continue the sport, because it really is just a great sport.
Scope of knowledge, yeah.
Right. And then also, again, just like gymnastics, if it can get into the Olympics, that again will cause a pretty big uptick in interest. Mm-hmm. It's starting to deviate from the show a little bit. I've noticed a lot of gyms and a lot of coaches are putting less merit in what the show is doing. Obviously, that's really cool, and that's how it started, and that's the name brand. But there's also a bigger push for just not just the professional, but the extracurricular activities for kids. So
doing good things for kids.
Exactly.
Regardless of whether or not they're on TV.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions for Reece before I move into our rapid fire
I know.
questions?
I could go on and on because it's just fun to listen.
I'd love to hear what listeners, when they hear this, what questions they have for you. We can do maybe a follow-up interview, just because I know that there's other things. We're trying to keep these podcasts under that, we're in that 30-minute mark, and we are just a tick over that. So if we can always come back for a second round of questions that you guys have for Reece after listening to this. I'm sure there will be plenty. Do you have anything else that you want to touch on today?
No, I was going to go down the path
other than your pride.
I know. It's my baby boy. I was going to go down the path of financial targets and gross profit percentages, but maybe that's a topic for another time. But you do have a clear understanding of those.
Yeah, I like that stuff a lot.
That's his wheelhouse.
I was a math and science guy, so
Yeah, he'd be really on top of that
Yeah.
conversation. Okay, well I want to wind this into kind of how we've been ending our interviews. So we interviewed Jeff Metzger, obviously, already. That was our first big interview. So you get to follow up.
I know those are big
No
shoes
pressure.
to fill.
So just a few questions that we like to hit on at the end for each guest. Do you have any favorite quotes that have stuck with you?
The one that came to mind quickly was about teaching, and it just really kind of breaks down the importance of in-person instruction and instructors that are enthusiastic. I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, and I do and I understand. And that basically means if you tell a kid to do something, they're going to maybe hit 10% of it. If you show them how to do something, they might get 50% of it. But if you have them actually do it, they'll understand how to do that. And I think that can apply to teaching, but it can also apply to staff training and kind of anything in life. Is once you actually do something, you can understand, okay, I messed that up, but here's how I messed it up.
That's a great one. Do you have a favorite book, or are you currently reading any books that you would suggest?
I'm reading 3 books.
Okay.
I have a problem. I start a book and then I start another book and all of a sudden I have 5 books. But the one that I like, the one that is really helping me a lot, understand myself and understand other people a lot, is 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson.
Cool.
It's a really good book.
Do you have any favorite tool, whether physical or digital, that's made your life easier, whether it's personal or at work?
Actually,
Okay.
I think I got you guys hooked on, it's called Rocketbook. It's a erasable notebook, and you can upload all of that stuff to Google Drive or to Evernote or to anything. It helps keep notes organized, because I used to walk around with a backpack full of 13 different notebooks,
Yep.
and then I'd set one down and lose it, and then all of my notes about a specific thing were on that.
Yep. And finally, do you have any particular piece of advice or wisdom that has stuck with you for a long time?
I don't know if it's advice, but more of just like an overall teaching moment that I received was, especially stepping into DL, was not getting stuck thinking about the things that could go wrong and just going ahead and trying something new. And if it didn't work, being able to adjust from that. We talked a lot about being stuck, analyzing the situation instead of moving forward and growing, because if you're not moving forward, then you might be moving backwards, and that can lead to kind of mediocrity. I think Jim Collins talks about that in Good to Great. That was a good book. But always moving forward and thinking of new ideas, and not being afraid to jump into something that might seem a little scary, because that was something I have problems with a lot.
Yeah. That's an awesome place to end. I feel like that, just jumping off into something that's scary. I think that's where we've all been in the last year. Well, Reece, I can say for myself, and I know that Jen would speak exponentially more, how proud we are of you. And it's been awesome. I feel like I just love these conversations that we're able to have with DLs, and I look forward to having more of them each week with other department leaders or other people in our industry. It's just so cool to hear you talk about the principles and what you've learned really in such a short time. As Jen mentioned, if you're hearing this, it's February of 2021. And Reece was put into his position officially in December of 2020. So just a few short months ago. And like he said, already reaching 300 ninjas, have a competitive team, has special events going on. It's really been awesome to see. So
Thanks for inviting me. I love talking about Ninja and just my own personal kind of philosophy on hiring and growth and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to sign off. So thank everybody for tuning in.
Yep. Thank you.
And thanks, Reece, for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for watching today's episode of the Small Business Bootcamp Podcast. Kids First has been in business for almost 50 years and is a leader in the children's instructional services industry. Twice a year, we host our Small Business Bootcamp with our partner, mentor, and Kids First founder, Jeff Metzger. Bootcamp is a 3.5-day total immersion business seminar. For more information about our Small Business Bootcamp, go to www.metzgerbootcamp.com. Our next boot camp is May 20th through the 24th, 2021. Thanks for tuning in, and subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Google, or Apple Podcasts. Until next time, stay positive and keep moving forward.